Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October version of 100 Pictures of Honey. This is the super special Shakespeare related version of 100 Pictures of Honey, which makes me inordinately excited. Not only have I loved Shakespeare since I was about 12, I continue to be obsessed with the plays and the sonnets and pretty much everything else about Shakespeare. And I can't wait to have you be obsessed with what these three brilliant writers have done with the Bard. And excuse me just a minute, I just lost a screen. There we are. Okay. I'm now having technical difficulties. All right, here we go. So we're going to adjust our order just a little bit tonight. And that's okay because all three readers are wonderful and you're going to enjoy them all. We are going to start with Dayna Patterson. I'm going to put her official bio and link to where to buy her wonderful book in the chat. I've known Dayna for quite some time, on the internet, and have loved her work for quite some time. She has another Shakespeare chat book called Titania in Yellow, which is wonderful. And her latest book, Oh Lady Speak Again, not only reinvents new histories and endings for Shakespeare's women, it parallels them with the speaker's story of kind of escaping the restrictions of society, societal and religious expectations for women, and places that in the context of Shakespeare's women, and it's brilliant. And I want to share with you just the ending of one of my favorite poems from the book, so I apologize if Dayna was going to read it as well, but the end of Ode to Juliet will give you an example of what I'm talking about. I love to imagine you grown, even graying. Here you stand on a different balcony, brushing, oiling, braiding thick coils of your daughter's hair into a crown. Before you descend together, arm in arm, into the garden, to see what pushes up through the soil, what opens in the sun, musk rose, lily, woodbine, what has been allowed to bloom. Dayna Patterson.
That was lovely. Thank you so much, Donna. I'm not actually going to read that poem. I have read that one a lot, so I'm taking a little break from it. So I'm really glad that you cited that one. Thank you all so much for being here. I love this poetry series, and I'm excited to hear from Elizabeth and hopefully VC. Elizabeth and I have had the opportunity to read together, but this will be my first experience hearing from VC, and I'm excited. So in the socials, I've been promising lots of witchy poems, and so have all of us. So I went through my recent collection, Oh Lady Speak Again, and I tried to select some of the most October-y and witchy poems that I could. So I'm gonna. Is everybody hearing that doorbell sound, or is it just me? Oh,
It's because you are a co-host, so that's just me and you all. No one
got
else is
it.
hearing
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first poem in the collection, which is invoking Hecate. Hecate makes a brief appearance in Macbeth in a scene that some Shakespeare scholars think was added later, not by Shakespeare himself. But Hecate was worshipped in ancient Greece as the goddess of witchcraft. So this is Thunder. Enter the three witches meeting Hecate. Invoke her at your threshold, holy daughter of Nyx, worker from afar, Hecatos, queen of ghosts. Paint her on your lintel, liminal goddess, choosy protectress, a fistful of blessing to bestow or withhold. Doldrums or wind in the sail. Her herald, a choral whine and howl. Her familiars, a black bitch and a polecat. Spectral, at the place where roads cross, three-bodied or three-headed body, horse head, dog head, lion head, a mouth of moan, pleasure, and pain, triplicitous she, full moon, half moon, new moon, virgin and mother, mystery cowled daughter, weave a wreath of yew, garlic, belladonna, mandrake. At the town wall's portcullis, at the fortress's gate, she holds daggers and torches, keys and snakes, trimorphous. From her cave, she hears a daughter's distress, leads mother to omnivoyant light and chthonic dark. Her credo, round, around, around, about. Leave her a sacrifice of black female lambs, of honey, of dogs, her sacrament. Psychopomp, eternity's stitcher, soul threader, build her a shrine at the entrance. So now that we've invoked Hecate, we can move on to other poems. This piece is called Gertrude, on Artem Nuptiis, which is Latin for on the art of marriage. And this is Gertrude, Hamlet's mother. Gertrude on Artem Nuptiis. Grief wolfed me from the inside, gnawed my spine, and I could roll over and suffer, or dig a pit and bait it, skin the beast on my marriage bed. I chose the shovel. I chose the hunter's knife to slit grief scrotum to throat. And no, I didn't know I took a murderer as husband. And please keep in mind, married so long I'd acquired the habit of two-ness, 2 minds, 2 crowns, 2 pairs of eyes, the worst word in any language, alone. And letting go, I felt formal as a stone splitting. And a brother-in-law's suit was a solution to my unhaving. Yes, frailty, if frail is to bury my dead and seize fruit growing over the grave. And if I had to do it again, perhaps Polonius this time. Yes, even in his fussy grandiloquence, I tell you, remarriage would have still been over hasty, still a thorn to my son, still this old heart's cleaving. I'm wearing my Macbeth scarf. I've got my Macbeth scarf and my Hamlet scarf kind of twined in two. So that was a Hamlet poem, and now I'll switch over to a Macbeth poem here. This is Ode to Lady Macbeth, and I very much have in mind the 2016 version of Macbeth with Marion Cotillard playing Lady Macbeth, and the opening with the funeral pyre for the Macbeth's only child. She refers in the play to having given suck, but there are no children in the play, so what happened to them? And I love the way that that particular screenplay situates the Macbeth's grief going into the play. This is Ode to Lady Macbeth. And the epigraph is, I have given suck, and know how tender 'tis to love the babe that milks me. A kinder cremation, a foot-long pyre. Before we cry villain, let's caution closer. Look, a bonfire of violins, varnish blistering, elegant F-holes, strings snapping as they burn. Too soon after the funeral, wayward sisters, Sibylline, stir cauldrons of rumors, ignite her kindling. Bereaved, she summons murdering ministers, sightless substances, to replace her dead baby's milk with gall, sea bitterness, deep resentment, bile. Grieved, she pours her spirits into henchman husband's ear. Let's not be too quick to demonize her or her sisters. Lilith entwining a serpent, Delilah clipping Samson's hair, Jael's tent peg driven deep into skull. In the end, can't we morsel some pity for her madness? Somnambulant, unconscious confessor, sleep mocker. In white she wanders, tissue in wind, rush of rust. She can't hide from herself the stench of blood. Suicide? Or did Hecate grant she melt into element? In whispers, let's say she escaped as screech owl, clacking her bone beak, a dark sweep across night's milky veil. It's very fun to study Shakespeare's sources and see what he changed. In particular with Lady Macbeth, or with the Macbeth story. Macbeth was actually a prosperous king for about 10 years, and his accomplice was Banquo. Not so much Lady Macbeth in the chronicles that Shakespeare was working with. But Banquo, James I of England claimed ancestry to Banquo, so he could hardly write a play about Banquo being the accomplice. Banquo gets off and his sons become kings. So instead, Shakespeare needed to villainize and demonize Lady Macbeth a little bit. So that's some interesting choices, Shakespeare. The next poem I'm going to share with you, actually, I'm going to skip ahead. I see I'm running a little bit low on time. I have 2 more poems. This piece is called Watching the Merry Wives of Windsor with My Girls. Because a glut of glass slippers, because a blastoma of pink, because Juliet and Ophelia, yes, but also Anne Page. Because Anne Page and her decoys, boys disguised in dresses and veils, trick away suitors she's refused. She elopes with her pick, defying both parents. Because a page to write on or be written upon. Because a shortage of girls with ink-stained fingers. Because Anne authors her own story, asks forgiveness, not permission. Because before Frog and Toad, there was Mistress Page and Mistress Ford, sharing letters, facing snakes. Before Thelma and Louise, these world-wise women watching each other's back. Because these merry wives, friends, and tricksters specialize in subterfuge, fly in the face of Falstaff's lewd intentions. Because a clever mother and clever daughter grow into and out of each other. Because we coven of sisters fledge in flocks. The last poem I'll share is one of the last poems in the book. Since I opened with Hecate, I'm gonna close with Hecate. Reading Shakespeare, don't you notice just how many mothers are missing? There's just like one play after another. Where are all the mothers? So this poem has that on its mind. This is Hecate, as you did for Demeter, do. Hecate, as you did for Demeter, do for these unmothered. Sweep the dead across the threshold of Dis into the wings of those who wait, their talons muddy from the trenches they dug and filled with wine and flesh to summon phantom hunger. Suture Cordelia, Ophelia, Miranda to their unnamed matrons. Stitch the rift between Juliet and Lady C, Perdita and Hermione. Bring the mothers of Jessica, Portia, Viola up from the gut of the earth into a forest craquelure with moonlight. There, in a grotto's mouth, above a nest of hatchling snakes, set my mother and me and my daughters. Plant our feet on an ormolu mount. Interlace our porcelain. Let incense climb our limbs and sash our waists and curl through our hair in smoky tendrils, unfurling to the stars. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dayna. I just love that whole book. I can't even pick a favorite poem, but that last one is one of my favorites. Yes, please feel free to use the reactions, the chat, while our readers are reading. We're still struggling to get our third reader into the meeting, so we will continue, and then if we don't get VC into the meeting, might ask Dayna and Elizabeth just to read a little bit more for us. But thank you so much, Dayna, and I will again put the link to where to buy Dayna's book in the chat. It is a book that you want. I can guarantee that you will enjoy reading it. Our next reader is Elizabeth Sylvia. I love Elizabeth's book, None But Witches, because her poems are in conversation with Shakespeare's women as well, but she is more, or the speaker is more present in some of Elizabeth's poems than they are in some of Dayna's. And one of my favorites, again, and if you're going to read it, I apologize that I'm stealing a couple of lines, is Dear Helena. Helena from A Midsummer Night's Dream, who says she will follow Demetrius like a spaniel, right? And the speaker in this poem wants to learn from Helena. I make love like the messenger bee, treasuring the glinting dust the flower shakes away. Your want is grasping, adores the face of its shame, feels hot in the cold, does not care if in the end you lick stolen love, dropped by Oberon off the back of a truck. I love Oberon and a truck being in the same line. And I think you're going to love all of Elizabeth's poems as well. Take it away, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Donna. It's always so wonderful to read with Dayna. This is our second reading together, and there's so much tenderness and beauty in Dayna's book, and I'm actually about to rip that all away from you. All of the wonderful endings and communions that Dayna has given you, I'm about to steal from you. I also want to say, this is off topic, but Dayna has the most amazing Instagram, which is Poetry and Fungus, and you see her mushrooms behind her, and every post is like an amazing mushroom and a book cover that somehow matches that mushroom, and it's just like so delightful. So you should follow her on Instagram so you can see her Poetry and Fungus. So tonight, I'm going to read some poems that I haven't read very much. I was thinking, it's October. It's like the middle of the night where I live. It's dark, it's cold. And I picked some poems tonight that I don't always read because I'm a little bit worried about how my listeners will feel about me. I'm going to tell you one story about this. So my friend who's here, but I won't name, told me this about my book, that a little bit after it was published, she went downstairs in the morning and her partner was reading it. And he said, "Oh, this is really good." And then he said, "Is Elizabeth okay?" And I thought he should ask Shakespeare if Shakespeare is okay, because I'm not the one who started this. All of the terrible things that happened to women in my book happened in Shakespeare's plays first. So with that introduction, I'm going to start with a poem called Quondam, which is about Margaret from Richard, Duke of York and the Henry VI plays. She was an absolutely ferocious fighter. She was married to Henry VI, and he basically like rolled over when the Yorks came to town and was like, "I give you everything." And she was like, not a chance. So this is a persona poem from her point of view. It's called Quondam, which means in the past, once upon a time. Men may rate me tigerish and adder-tongued, not beautiful, and therefore bestial, veined through with rot. When they encounter me among their dead, whom I have so unmanned with my wild mouth, I soak my handkerchief in blood and rub their faces with the mess of it. Childbirth's red split foretold the moment I would move to cut your throat instead of lifting mine for you to take. Oh, you can swear that gentleness has put no hand upon me, nor has reason traced the outline of my mind, but I will not succumb to seal your treaty or your bed. I will be wild and fierce, remembering how I came here through storm as one who drank salt and dived upon the rocks, cracking the black shells of mussels and eating their raw hearts. That the braced wind felt every hollow of my body. Once I ran along the sea cliff, half wolf with an eagle heart, the white chalk crumbling behind me, nothing of the past in my lungs. Of course, there are a lot of queens in Shakespeare. And Dayna already mentioned how Shakespeare sometimes fudges with the truth. And I think his kind of best and most dangerous move is actually in his Henry VIII play, which is kind of a lousy play and nobody really reads it. But it's so great because it has Anne Boleyn in it, right? And how do you, as William Shakespeare, write a play that contains Anne Boleyn, who's going to be beheaded, but is also the mother of the current Queen of England, right? Like, that's a tightrope. Anyway, he ends it by just ending the play at Anne Boleyn's coronation, so he never has to deal with her beheading. But there's a great line in the play where Anne has just kind of gotten Henry's attention, and she's sitting talking to one of her ladies in waiting, and she says, "It faints me to think what follows." You know, just that moment of sort of prescience there. And the name of this poem is Subject, really trying to think about that line between power and victimhood. Subject. There is nothing to learn about being a queen. It subjects me while I sit here on a toy cushion, secret as the pit in a plum. Women are precious at being fruit. A lot depends on our patience, on being picked. If we are still enough, we can stay innocent. A crown's weight forbears a getaway. Like any subject, like anything subjected, I am within and without myself, known to enjoy and owe allegiances, a body and a maybe. All my treasure contingent on what I deliver, the disappointment of producing such another false coin. Self, image, cipher, I don't know what to call me, save inhabitant of these owned districts in which I am brought to be seen, corrected, to be suspected, to be deployed, something to be done about, to be done in, to be done. Okay, so in keeping with my somewhat gruesome endings for women in Shakespeare, I'm going to read a poem that was inspired by Antony and Cleopatra now. I think probably most people remember that she, when the Romans are closing in, commits suicide by deliberately provoking an asp to bite her, so that she dies. I'm thinking about that kind of self-harm when I wrote this. And she has some great lines too. The epigraph for this one is, "The stroke of death is as a lover's pinch, which hurts and is desired." So, whew, talk about some conflicting emotions there. This mortal house. In every century are women taking the scissors of vengeance to themselves, slicing a neat seam up the middle and stepping out of the fleshy tomb palace. Cleopatra calls a body her mortal house. She leaves the uninhabited frame to be wandered in. When we enter an abandoned house, it reminds us of the life that once went on. Sometimes a dirty dish in the sink, the worn out baby things that won't be used again. We can't live there, can't summon water from the kitchen faucet to wash our own hands clean. Hold the worm to your heart and it ruins that apple for another's eating. What I won't surrender, I can keep by giving up. This is a story men tell us, and we learn it. What wonder how we sharpen on ourselves until our fanged mouths hunger at our breast. I'm going to read two more poems, if that's okay. Am I all right with my time, Donna? This poem is called Blood Mouthed, and this is like a competition probably, but I'm going to argue that the woman who gets it the worst in all of Shakespeare is Lavinia from Titus Andronicus. I got some nods of agreement. Lavinia is the daughter of Titus Andronicus, And at the beginning, he's a general and he captures the queen of the Amazons, Tamora. And she like marries the emperor and pretends that everything's okay, but she's secretly plotting her revenge. She sends her 2 sons out to rape Lavinia. When they're done, they cut out her tongue so she can't tell anyone, and they cut off her hands so that she can't write their names. This is called Blood-Mouthed. Cut tongues couldn't tell a story. This set Lavinia out on the rock crop, blood-mouthed and unscreaming. Whosoever passed must pity her, for she had lost the world and lost her words. Did she deserve such cup of trembling? Anyone can turn a grief to rage. In all relations, we are either blind or cruel. Those who keep their tongues mouth snakes of lies, and those who keep their hands do nothing. Is there a tale I know more than this one? Unhanded, untongued, I still hold the bowl that gathers the blood of those who do me wrong. Dream their bones ground to dust. Hold tight with cautered wrists. Never mind my own end coming. Dayna said, "Where are the moms in Shakespeare?" And the moms, there are moms in Shakespeare. They're all like in his very early plays in the histories, and man, they are getting it left and right in those history plays at the beginning. They like if you're a mom in Shakespeare in the first like probably 10 plays, if you have a kid, that kid is not going to survive to the end of the play. Like Shakespeare is just brutal to moms. And the poem I'd like to close with is inspired by one of those moms and one of my favorite scenes in all of Shakespeare, which is from King John. There's a former queen named Constance in King John, and she has lost her son. She comes on stage and she is wild with grief, which is demonstrated by the fact that she has pulled her hair so that her hair is all wild and out. And there is this absolutely insane scene of tone policing where she's like, and King John is like, could you tie your hair up though? It's really distracting that your hair is down. And it goes back to that over and over and over again, like just put your hair up though. I mean, you know. And I thought like this is something I feel like as a woman is so relatable even today, that you can't have any emotions or that's the only thing that we can talk about. And this poem is for mothers everywhere. I've actually read this one quite a few times because it seems like every single time I have a reading, there is a new reason to read this poem. So this is called Unbind. Run into the marketplace with me, mothers of this world, for I have seen you weeping at the dry-edged river and wading from the boats, dead children in your arms. Run into the marketplace with me, mother, madre, mama, mater, mutter, mater, mama, 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 and we will take the pins from our scalps and shake our heads and fill our silenced mouths with hair. Run in your bared feet to the marketplace with me, where we can beat the drums of grief until we open fissures in the earth that swallow princes as they draw the lines our children cannot cross. Flood the marketplace with hair of snakes and words that cannot be choked back. Shelter and rage and stomp until the maps curl up in fists of ash, because our hair makes fire of the wind, and all around us knots are come undone, and birth instead of death is thundering. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Wow, what a beautiful way to end. And when people say, you know, I don't know why people still read Shakespeare. It's almost frightening, you know, how much every single aspect of human experience can still be found there and still apply to what's happening today. I am very happy to report that VC McCabe has made it into the Zoom. Yay. She is going to be our third reader this evening. Bio is coming in the chat. I'm very excited to hear these poems. I have read some of them, and the book I believe is officially out today or tomorrow, called Ophelia, which is an erasure of Hamlet. So another whole nother way to access the source text. And what I really love about the poems that I've read so far, because I'm waiting for my book, are the beautiful phrases and juxtapositions that VC has found through erasure, especially for Ophelia. Probably I'll get choked up here for a second. Writing about Ophelia has been an important part of my own grief writing about my father. And so I'm really excited to hear these poems, to hear beautiful lines like Ophelia sings, love is a headstone, or you sweet plague, you mad, wretched honey. What a beautiful idea to erase Hamlet and focus on Ophelia. And I can't wait for you to hear these poems. So without further ado, VC.
Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Sorry, I'm having terrible technical issues, and I apologize for the delay. So as Donna mentioned, and thank you, Donna, for having me here. I'm a little flustered after all of the delays, but I am so grateful to be here, especially with Elizabeth and Dayna. As Donna mentioned, my book, Ophelia, was just released this week by Femme Salve Books. And what I really wanted to do with this book, the title series is Erasures from Hamlet, as Donna mentioned. And I really wanted to take Ophelia out of that context of all these men who had abused her and traumatized her, gaslit her, and then labeled her grief and her trauma as madness. She's crazy. She's not traumatized and grieving. She's crazy. And then also there are original poems in the book that deal with domestic violence and sexual assault, ranging from classical mythology up to the Me Too movement. I wanted to take Ophelia and put her in this chorus of women throughout time that have been not only wronged, but silenced, give them voices, put them together as a group, and give them power that way. So without further ado, all of the title series poems are called Ophelia, so I'll begin with the first one in the book. Unfold yourself carefully, sick star. Burn with fear and wonder. Strange, strange night. Hot and lawless and lost. Star of fire and blood. Neptune's empire sick with eclipse. Harbinger, omen, ghost. In sea or fire, in earth or air, night witch, hallowed and gracious. Ophelia. Not living will please you, you hope. Your dread pleasures, that great feast, dear death. Madness is art. Doubt stars, doubt sun, doubt love. Ill daughter, kissing carrion. Daughter, speak madness and leave him, leave you. The world a dream, a shadow, your discovery, golden fire, your bounty, your death, mad and free. This one is not about Ophelia, and I dedicate it to Elizabeth, who mentioned Lavinia. I have had a lifelong love of Shakespeare. So much so when I was a child, my best friend gave me the nickname Shrew from Taming of the Shrew. She's like, that's you. But as much as I love Shakespeare, I abhor the play and the movie Titus Andronicus. Lavinia is ravaged in a way that I don't even know how someone could come up with to write it. And so I hate it as much as I love Shakespeare. So this poem is about Lavinia, and it's called Ventriloquy. And it begins with the epitaph, Lavinia ravished, her hands cut off, her tongue cut out, from Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus. He stole my tongue in spring to seal my witness mouth, sawed off my plaintive hands, so I'll not play the cook nor feast on vengeance pie. I shall teach myself once more to speak without my tongue, to feel without my fingers. Such horrors visited upon my muted skin, this pile of butchered flesh, this pier of sacrificial wood. Let my stumps play the scribe and paint in blood every scream he denied me. Justice for Lavinia. So back to Ophelia. You drift turbulent and dangerous, wild lone sea. End the heartache, dream of death. Shuffle off this mortal coil, death the undiscovered current. Nymph, your beauty will soon transform. Love made you a sinner. Crawling between earth and heaven, you sweet plague, mad wretched honey, sweet bell jangled out of time, melancholy seas sprung from madness. Excuse me. Ophelia. Torrent, tempest, whirlwind, her body the fear of others, blood and judgment so well, a brutal part to kill, memory, a church of the dead, Neptune's salt moon sacred, the sun and moon, fear and love, wormwood kiss, violent fruit, violence of grief, grief, grief. Earth and anchor, the tedious day withers raven thoughts black, creature of midnight, poison garden, forest of affliction. Obey your liberty, your grief, your compass. The witching night breathes hot blood. Ophelia. Army of a promised kingdom, the majesty, power of command, the frontier, the garrison of man, a beast made godlike, bestial oblivion, craven earth. Witness this army of divine ambition, mortal danger at the stake. Stand, stained, blood and shame, imminent death a fantasy, graves like beds, tomb enough to hide from thought. Ophelia. Mood beats her heart, her words dangerous, her sick soul sends toy. Ophelia sings love is a headstone. Ophelia sings we know what we are, but not what we may be. She will choose cold, the poison of deep grief. Sorrows come in battalions, violent thoughts and whispers. Poor Ophelia, divided from herself. Beasts come in clouds to infect with pestilent speeches. Noise within. The messenger, the riot, the cry. Noise within. The false trail, the false door. What is divinity? Damnation. Noise within. Madness. Madness. Ophelia. Gravedigger, is she buried? Salvation, her grave. The crown, her burial. Gravedigger, she drowned herself. The water, the water, the water, drown, drown. The truth buried, this world a heathen, the scripture, the scripture. The gallows, the gallows, the gallows, the gallows. Sweet skull, Skull sweet, sweet Lord, these bones, a pit of skulls, mad dirty shovelful, parchment made of skin. Sing, O pit of the dead, she's dead. Strange, strange. Mad skull kissed. Winter's queen, the corpse of Ophelia, the queen of death, the maiden of bell and burial. The dead sing a requiem to her, fair and unpolluted flesh. Violet spring howling, the fair Ophelia. She scatters flowers, the skies, the stars, wonder wounded. The final poem in the book, Ophelia. Sleep deep, divinity. Sea gown, the dark, unfold goblin, stay the axe. A prong to love, her garland of death. The changeling, sea fight, nature incensed, beast of beasts, cold wind, cold breath, the dagger. Madness, 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 my revenge. She lifts the cup, the poison cup. The queen falls, the drink poison, the treacherous instrument, venom, venom. Death come, death hold me, and in this harsh world, tell my story. Thank you.
The beautiful ending. I loved how all the Ophelia poems end with madness, but madness is given a different frame in each poem. Thank you so much to all three of you. I'm going to drop DC's information in the chat one more time so that you can order Ophelia. This has been a really special reading. And again, if you know some people who love Shakespeare who are not able to be here tonight, you will be able to find the video on YouTube. It should be up by later this evening. Thank you so much for being here. I know that there's such Zoom fatigue now, and there are so many readings that people can attend. So I always appreciate those of you for being here live for our readers so that they have an audience. And I know that they appreciate it as well. I'm really happy that you were here. I hope now that you've been here once, if this is your first time here, that you'll come back next month on November 16th, I believe. We'll have LJ Cisco, Ariana Benson, Matthew Thornburn, and Stevie Edwards, whose new book, Quiet Armor, has quite a few Lavinia poems in it, as well as poems that reclaim some other mythological women who's like Medusa and some other people. So if you're interested in those kinds of poems, Stevie will be reading some of those poems in November. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to all three of our readers who were brilliant. And I hope that we see you all again. Good night.